Let's talk about catalysts for hedge funds. So remember when we watched this video and we were talking about why he wanted to short GoPro? Well, his boss, right, Horatio's boss, Pam, said, what is the catalyst? What is the reason we need to short this company? Why now? Why now? And he responded by saying, well, it's because Apple and Google have competing products to GoPros coming out soon. I made that up, by the way. I should have big disclosures everywhere. I made that up. Okay. So what are the types of catalysts we can talk about? Well, there's product catalysts, right? So there's a company called Take-Two Interactive. The ticker is TTWO, okay? And that company releases a great product every couple of years called Grand Theft Auto. And when it does, the stock goes up ahead of time because of that. That's a catalyst, right? That's a catalyst. That's a reason for investing. All right. Another example of a catalyst is Lionsgate Films, ticker LGF. Lionsgate Films released 4 versions, right? 4 movies of The Hunger Games. And every time they did that, investors got excited. So a catalyst is basically a way for you to understand and know if people are going to get excited about a stock. And you always want to own a stock that people are going to like. Okay, so Wayne Gretzky, this is my only Gretzky quote, I promise. I'm Canadian, I have to quote Gretzky. Gretzky was successful in hockey, not because he skates where the puck is, but because he skates where the puck is going to be. He had that foresight. Similarly, I want you to invest in stocks that people are going to like, okay? And catalysts will help you do that. In terms of other types of product-based catalysts, if Apple releases a product like this, it would impress the crap out of everybody. Sorry about that. And there's event catalysts too. So the Olympics in Beijing, that was a huge catalyst. And I worked at a hedge fund in New York at this time. And I remember a couple of years before the Olympics, actually, I think it was 5 years before, the boss of a great hedge fund I worked at said, hey, I want us to all invest in companies that are going to benefit from the 2008 Beijing Olympics. And I said, what do you mean? Well, he said, well, they're going to build a lot of stuff, right? They're going to build a lot of new buildings and stuff. And I want you to tell me, all the analysts in the firm, he asked, what companies are going to do well. And so the machinery analyst said, well, Komatsu and Caterpillar, they make trucking equipment and digging equipment. Okay, that company should do well. And then the commodity analyst said, well, the price of oil will probably go up a lot because China is going to be building a lot of stuff, right? And so in the software sector, I didn't know what to say. So I said that Autodesk will do well because they make 3D software and engineers need to use 3D software to make buildings. And then I actually met, this is a cool story, with the CEO of UTX, that's the ticker, United Technologies, right? United Technology owns Carrier, which makes air conditions, and they own Otis Elevator as well, right? And the CEO of United Technologies, ticker UTX, told me, Chris, in the next 5 years, more buildings are going to be built in China than the cumulative total of all buildings ever built in every country since the beginning of time. Wow. That's the mother of all catalysts. And China was basically trying to build up their infrastructure ahead of the Olympics. And there were issues there too, right? So there's a lot of pollution. And what happened was pollution-based stocks did well. That's why people were investing in solar years ago, right? That was the catalyst. In fact, 30% of all pollution above the San Francisco Bay Area today, apparently, and I can't validate this, is from China because of coal production, right? So what happened was right around the Beijing Olympics, actually 3 or 4 months before the Olympics, which were amazing, China shut down all industrial production, right? Around 300-mile radius around Beijing because a lot of tourists were there and so what happened was stocks that were in that sector started doing poorly. Now, 2008 was an awful year for stocks, obviously, but some people anticipated that pullback in spending in China. One more cool China story. So I met with a large electricity company too, back in 2005 or 6. And the CEO told me that every year, the equivalent electricity grid infrastructure of the United Kingdom is built in China. Every year. That's the mother of all catalysts. And so these big, exciting events like this are catalysts. And I want you to see the forest from the trees and really understand what catalysts are going to drive markets and sectors in the near term, but more importantly, in the very long run. And so the Olympics was a great catalyst, right? And there's other catalysts as well. So for example, the Olympics in Rio, as well as Election Day. And so elections are usually big catalysts for certain sectors. I don't know which ones per se, but some government officials that get elected are more helpful with certain sectors than others. So that's another type of catalyst. And so the most important thing I could tell you is that catalyst is all about time.